royal history, what I find fascinating is that when you get there at those big royal events, and I've been to quite a few myself, particularly when you see celebrities, it's amazing how they become very sort of, pliable, shall we say. People always say, I'm not bothered about meeting the Queen or the King or whatever. As we saw recently with Paul Mescal, the star of Gladiator 2, who rather rudely pointed out it wasn't on his list of priorities. Most people feel differently because it can be a career-defining moment. In fact, Imelda Staunton's just picked up, of course, playing the part of the Queen in The Crown. Well, she's become a dame. So clearly, whichever thoughts, she still rushed along to pick up that award. So clearly it meant something to her. What I find fascinating, though, is when you look back in royal history, a story that was told to me directly from one of the major stars, in fact, was all down to a very chance meeting with this particular senior royal. As ever, let me explain. Morning, good to see you. Thank you so much for your time today. Are you all right? I'm all right. Well, I'm still recovering, obviously, as you can tell, yes. It's not good, is it? I know. Suddenly you're looking in your cupboard, aren't you, thinking, is that cough mixture still in date? You're not quite sure. Then you think, well, I'll tell you what, nothing else. Then you look at the price when you go out and you think, yeah, I think I'll make do with that. Stir it round, it'll do. Yeah, you can't afford to be ill now, can you? Have you noticed? Shocking though, isn't it? Whatever you think, you come away thinking, how much are paracetamol? How much are ibuprofen? I know there's cheaper brands and I never buy a branded thing, do you? I don't bother. You just know you're paying for the fancy ad. Basically, painkiller is a painkiller. What, I'm a painkiller? I know, well, maybe, you never know, do you? Let me get back to your royal historical story of the day, because one of my very favourite comedians was none other than the brilliant Sir Norman Wisdom, right? And Norman Wisdom, I always loved this because he really did make the Queen laugh at his investiture when he went up to pick his award. He did his famous trip up and all that sort of stuff, And it was fascinating, really, because his story is an amazing rise to the top. But way back in 1954, Norman was asked to appear at that year's Royal Variety Performance. And that's because the previous year, he had become the #1 British film star, box office star in the United Kingdom. Not only that, the movies were doing very well around the world. And Norman, with his madcap sort of trace of the gimp suit and all that sort of thing, it was just lovely. Really, it's innocent fun. And if you watch him today, you can still have many laughs. Also on the bill, though, was another royal favourite. That's right, Sir Noel Coward. Of course, not Sir Noel at that point, but still very much well loved and very, very good friends with the late Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth. So much so that she unveiled a bust of his at the Theatre Royal Jewry laid in his honour. Doesn't come much better than that, does it, when you think about it? But way back in 1954, according to Norman, he developed a very good friendship with Noel Coward. And it's a bit rare in showbiz circles, that, let me tell you, because, when you think Noel's theatre, darling, it's all of that. And Norman's fun, frivolity, making you laugh. But opposites do attract, and this is the thing, you see. Norman always wanted to be taken rather seriously as an actor. In later in life, he did do 1 or 2 roles down that particular field. And Noel Coward just loved comedians and a lot of fun. He was great with sort of raconteur wit. That's what he really thrived on. However, according to Norman, they both were invited for a very special luncheon by the very young Her Majesty the Queen, Queen Elizabeth, to Buckingham Palace, just one of those informal luncheons. Anyway, according to Norman, during the chat, and this is all on record, that basically, she said, I'm surprised you two don't work together. You clearly admire each other's work. And Norman thought about this and said, oh, it's a rather interesting idea, Mom, and all this sort of stuff. And she said, well, look, maybe you could come up with something. I would definitely come along and see it. And that really was the start of this very good friendship. But according to Norman, you see, the bottom line was his film studio, the Rank organisation, certainly didn't want him to go down this particular path because in their eyes, he was their #1 star. He made people laugh. Theatre was not money making. No, you're not going to do it. And while he was under contract, he couldn't really do it. Of course, he had success later on in life in the late 60s with The Most Happy Fella on Broadway, but sadly had to come back, as he told me, when his marriage broke down. In the early 70s, he reconnected with Noel Coward. And once again, he told me that actually an informal meeting with the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, she said to them, you still not got it together then, even after all of these years? And they said no, but they were now going to relook at it. Just at that point, sadly, Sir Noel Coward did take ill, and we sadly lost him. And as Norman said to me, it was a real shame because he felt that they could have done something really worthwhile together. But as he also pointed out, it was an odd pairing that only perhaps our late and brilliant monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, could have seen. As he said, I was sat at the lunch table in Buckingham Palace feeling a little bit nervous, He said, but she'd made very special meals that we both liked. And he said that she really was encouraging in the arts and what she, thought people could do. He said there was never truly a woman that he'd ever met quite like her. And both he and Noel, as he left, said she was quite remarkable, wasn't she, at lunch? And of course, Sir Norman said, yeah, terrific, as only Norman can. Sadly, even the Queen never got to see two of her favourite stars working together. But it's always lovely to share these particular heartwarming stories. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.